if you're considering buying a YETI cooler, consider this a persuasive essay on why to not waste your money. If you told me that when I turned 30, I would be making YouTube videos about coolers, I would have been disappointed in my future self, quite frankly. But here I am in hopes that I can save you, good people of the internet, from the black hole that is roto-molded, aka heavy duty, aka hard-sided cooler consumer reviews. In this video, I'm going to be illustrating 3 main points. Number 1, the truth about how there are actually only 5 cooler manufacturers and yet 30 plus different cooler brands. Number 2, the realities of ice retention, proven via a controlled experiment with 4 different coolers I conducted in my backyard. And number 3, why choosing the right cooler really comes down to form over function and just preference, really. If you're new to the channel, welcome back to part 3 in the Snail Runner series, wherein I talk about all things related to living out of my Toyota 4Runner. To keep up with future videos, watch what you missed, hit the subscribe button, and let's roll the intro animation. When I started shopping around for coolers, I went into it already feeling very suspicious of the YETI options. I believed myself to be hip to this classic marketing scheme where companies create the illusion that their product is actually twice as good by charging twice what their competitors do. I thought to myself, ha, what a scam, who would fall for that? And then I fell for it. Doubt crept in and took over my common sense. I began questioning my previously sound position. I thought, there's no way this company with a boring logo and an ugly cooler could convince half the country that their shit is just better simply by overcharging people, right? Perhaps YETI coolers are actually superior. Spoiler alert, I was wrong. Now, if you're watching this video simply because you want me to tell you how to spend your money wisely, just go ahead and skip to the end. Before I get to actually recommending what I would buy, I need to first expose this grand cooler conspiracy. When I was doing comparison shopping, I realized that there were well over 30 cooler brands, but seemingly only about 5 cooler molds, if you will. Different companies are just buying blanks and slapping their branding on there. Exhibit A, YETI, Orca, Arctic. If you look closely, they're all the same cooler. X-Spec, Bird Dog, Civilis, Landworks. They're nearly identical. Similarly, Frosted Frog, Vibe, Elkton. Same freaking cooler! Hilariously, you can see in this Wayfair.com listing that they must have gotten tired of updating their stock images every time a new brand came out and just decided to black out the logo. Exhibit B. There are plenty of websites like this one where you can order blanks wholesale, which further substantiates my point. Side note, props to the ID and marketing team at YETI Corp for starting this very successful racket. You've managed to get people to pay the same amount of money for a cooler that they would for a kayak made using the same process with double the material. Way to go, you win at capitalism. The point I'm making here is that if you look at certain details like the latches, the handles, the rubber seals, hinges, shape, etc., you'll find that all of these options are more similar than they are dissimilar. And because none of these differences have to do with the actual guts of the cooler, we can reasonably assume that the performance differences, if any, will be negligible. So, because I'm a low-key masochist, and knowing what I know about Coolergate, I decided I would conduct my own little experiment using 4 different coolers, presumably made by different manufacturers, to find out which one would hold ice the longest. Since this whole video is dogging on YETI, I of course purchased a YETI. I also brought in an Angle, which is a similarly priced off-brand option, as well as a treeline cooler for the economy selection, Lastly, just for kicks, I threw in a Rubbermaid cooler I found on the side of the road after spraying a can of great stuff into the lid. Each of these coolers has roughly the same volume, though I should note they don't exactly correspond to the number used in the name. I filled each one with a 20-pound bag of ice and a 6-pack of LaCroix, aka the champagne of bubbly waters, which, much to my dismay, is not the sponsor of this video. For reference, when I conducted this test, I was in my backyard in Kansas City during hot, humid, 90-degree summer days. I checked each cooler twice a day and took out a drink. I first looked at the temperature, which was consistently the same in each cooler, plus or minus a few degrees. The FDA recommends keeping your home refrigerator at 40 degrees Fahrenheit, so do what you will with that information. I also checked for ice melt by measuring the volume of water that drained out of the cooler each day. This is where things got interesting for me. I realized that when storing food, as opposed to just canned beverages, this amount of water swimming in your cooler each day could be the major deal breaker. So, admittedly, my method of measuring drainage was not super precise, and I can't give you exact figures here. But I can confidently rank each cooler according to the least water drained each day, generally speaking. First up was the angle. After that, the treeline, and then the YETI, and then the trash cooler. Aside from the trash cooler, it took 3 days for each of these ice chests to turn into very small swimming pools for LaCroix. The trash cooler lasted nearly 2 days. This is a far cry from YETI's 6-day ice retention claim. Most companies out there make recommendations like maintain a 2-to-1 ice ratio, or use our proprietary ice packs, or my favorite of these absurd suggestions, pre-chill your cooler. Sure, this helps, but who wants to spend money on sacrificial ice? Ultimately, I assume most people who want to keep food cold for 3+ days at a time would prefer to prioritize space for food instead of toting around 40 pounds of ice with room for nothing else. So it's at this point that I realized the real strength of a cooler would come down to its ability to keep food dry. For example, this YETI came with a little top basket. It's shallow, but I guess you could keep a sandwich or two up there. The angle had no basket, but maybe you could stack a lot of waterproof Tupperware inside. The treeline option did not come with any accessories. However, like a gift from the heavens, I discovered that this $8 wire basket from Home Depot fit perfectly inside. I think the chances of something like that working are 1,000,000 to 1. It doesn't interfere with the lid closing entirely. It floats just above the bottom, leaving plenty of room for ice, and a carton of eggs fits in there like a glove. This made treeline the obvious winner for me. I like the design, the latches are easy to secure, like really easy. It comes with a good seal, drain, pressure release valve, and the basket miracle really just sealed the deal. If I were to make this purchase again, I'd absolutely recommend this particular mold. Coincidentally, the treeline brand has been discontinued. However, there are a lot of other brand labels to choose from. So now for the answer to the $1,000,000 question, which one do I buy? If you're storing food for 1 to 2 people for more than 3 days at a time, I'd say this 45-quart option by Landworks for $159.99 is the way to go. If you have space for something a little bigger, the X-Spec 60-quart is only $10 more. In my expert opinion, that is the best deal you're going to find anywhere. Given all this information, my ultimate conclusion is this. Ice retention should not be the sole factor in considering what cooler to buy. If you're ready to shop around for a cooler of your own that is roughly in the 45-quart range, here are the most important questions to ask yourself first. Is it under $200? If not, it's really not worth it. You're just paying for the branding. Will the dimensions fit where I want to store it? How many people am I trying to store food for, and for how long a period? Does it come with a basket? Is there a bottom drain? Does it come with a leash to the plug, or will that be easy to lose? Is there a good rubber seal on the lid? Are the latches easy to use, or do they seem easy to break? Is there a pressure release valve? And lastly, do I like the design/color? If you follow all these points, I can pretty much guarantee you that whatever you purchase is only going to be marginally better or worse than all the other comparable options out there. In the end, I can say I've been really happy with this little cooler of mine. In February, I drove south to see my family and meet my friends for this boat trip on the Atlantic Intercoastal in Florida. After making the needed repairs to our shanty boat and waiting out some rain, we spent 10 long, sunny days on the water. This trusty icebox kept our food cold and our drinks colder. What more can you ask for? Thanks to all you conspiracy theory wingnuts out there for tuning in. I'll see you next time.